Ladies and gentlemen, RosterWatch Nation, welcome back to the epic RosterWatch Podcast, brought to you by RosterWatch.com. My name is Alex Dunlap, here, of course, with the Trashman to discuss Week 3 on the Fantasy Football Waiver Wire. Trashman has gotten the Waiver Wire cheat sheet over to me. I've taken a little bit of editorial oversight to change up some of these things here at the very top. I want to ask Trashman what the hell he was thinking about some of this stuff, but we'll get into it. Trashman, your general overview on waivers this week. That'll be the first thing I ask you about. But before I do, just a reminder out there to everybody, all of our content is at rosterwatch.com. We'll be talking about the RosterWatch Ultimate Waiver Wire cheat sheet, where all of the free agent acquisition budget bids are recommended there. The order of the players, the tiers of the players, all recommended over there. If you have questions, make sure and load them up in chat. It can be about waivers. It can be about trades. It can be about who to drop. If you do have questions about whether or not you can drop a player for another that's maybe on the cheat sheet, just put them over in the YouTube chat, and we will get to those at the very end for the last segment about, can we drop this player? So, Trashman, with all that being said, overall thoughts on this week's waiver wire?
Well, I feel like some of the guys who, had some juice going into week 2 have definitely fallen back. Down to earth going into week 3. So I feel like the sheet I wouldn't say has shrunk considerably since last week, as we're starting to get a better look at, kind of who is actually maintaining some consistency across these first 2 weeks of the season.
I sure am glad we put Curtis Samuel on the very top of that sheet last week, Trashman.
Hey, I had him in a higher tier initially.
But you didn't need to go 40% on him like you were saying. I think you get him. What did we say? 25%. I'm just like, Trashman, we can't blow 40% on Curtis Samuel. But yeah, you did want him bad for sure. And it wasn't that I didn't want him. I didn't think our users had to pay 40%. I didn't have to pay 40% for him. So I think I went $22 in one $100 league, and I think I got him by like $4. So, but yeah, I mean, this week I think that it's my general kind of macro view, or is that the right one? Is it macro? Just about the overall state of like the big picture view. Okay. My view on this is that this is not necessarily a week where you're going to be getting a player starting this week that's going to be like a league changing type of guy. This isn't a week where a major, star went down and they're going to be down for the season, and there's a clear backup to him that you're able to pick up who's been on waivers, who's been overlooked. It's not that kind of week. This week to me,
I do feel like Jamal Williams this is the last week, I think, where you can get Jamal Williams, at a reasonable.
Right. I mean, in most reasonable leagues, he should have been drafted to begin with, right? But yeah, right. But Jamal Williams for sure. Do you want to talk about Jamal Williams? I mean, to me, it's very clear what the intrigue is in Jamal Williams. One is that he's clearly got, almost 90% of the red zone opportunities for the Detroit Lions. Two, the Detroit Lions are a team that it's looking like we're going to be able to target all year long for these matchups because the defense is so bad. That offense actually has some good weapons. Even though that offensive line for the Detroit Lions is so banged up right now, they're still, they're still just getting it done. Amon-Ra St. Brown is in absolute God mode right now. And we haven't even seen guys like DJ Chark and stuff turn it on. So this is an offense that can get it going, and it can keep up with these other teams when they go up against this bad defense. And they do find themselves in scoring position. And when they do, Jamal Williams is the guy who they clearly like down there. And then the third reason is DeAndre Swift ran for God knows how many yards again, last week. But he was already questionable through a week of practice, and we know that kind of stuff can happen. So,
and Jamal Williams led the backfield in touches.
Yeah, so it's God, man, dude, it's so crazy what DeAndre Swift can do, even on kind of limited volume. It's just he's just amazing. If you look at the total touches, so we had DeAndre Swift had 5 targets, but only 7 total touches on 51% of snaps, and then we had Jamal Williams with the 13 touches on only the 34% of snaps. So 13 touches for Jamal Williams, basically I think it was 86% of the red zone opportunities. I'll pull that up when we get the data pulled in for the ranking sheet. But I think that as far as the running backs, he's the top option, especially with, there was nothing, Jeff Wilson is not available in the waiver on waivers or in the free agent pool anymore. But especially what happened with, there was thought that maybe Tyrion Davis-Price or Jordan Mason could step up into some kind of role there with the 49ers. And Tyrion Davis-Price gets hurt, and he's out for the next 3 to 4 weeks. Jordan Mason, we'll see what happens with him. But I just think some of these other guys, it's just like, how interested can we be in really going to pick up even one of the – where are you on the Cardinals guys right now? To me, it's like it feels like Connor is going to come back this week anyway. And if he does –
If he doesn't come back this week, I think Williams is the guy. And then if he does,
it's going to be a mess. It's going to be a mess.
But I still think that, you will be able to flex at Darrell Williams if James Conner doesn't play. You can flex Darrell Williams or, Benjamin.
Well, right. But
if James Conner isn't there.
So basically what you're saying is if James Conner isn't there, you get to play one guy in a nebulous committee that we don't really know what the hell's going to happen with.
It's those two guys. Like in an offense that, moves the ball. I feel like, what Benjamin is more of the PPR play. Darrell Williams will be more of the half point PPR standard play.
Well, Darrell Williams will certainly get the goal line work. We saw that last week, right? We saw that last week after James Conner exited that game. I believe pretty early in the third quarter is whenever I texted Byron, and Byron wanted to go jump off a bridge. If it's me, with the news we're hearing about Brian Robinson and kind of Antonio Gibson took a little bit of a step back this week, and it feels like do you think that the Washington football team is going to continue just throwing the ball so much with Carson Wentz and just not running it? Is that be due to the fact that they just like to throw to J.D. McKissick? They don't want to run Antonio Gibson.
They've been in these shootouts. They've been in pretty fairly high scoring games this far.
Okay. Well, dude, listen. I don't know if the situation is going to be one where we can continue to think that Antonio Gibson is going to. We knew that Antonio Gibson, once Brian Robinson came back, there was going to be some sort of issue there, right, with that, because there was going to be a big Brian Robinson issue for Antonio Gibson to start the season before, of course, his incident where he was, got shot through the knee. We knew that was going to happen, right? So at some point when he comes back, he's presumably healthy, that's going to happen again. If they're talking about how he could be back in another 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but Brian Robinson probably needs to be picked up, judging on how this offense is scoring right now.
Yeah, and I think I placed him in a good spot to where you prioritize him fairly highly in this waiver wire.
And then the other thing, from a macro perspective, if Rachaad White is out there, it really does look like he's, and it's like we kept saying, he's not going to be worth much at all unless Leonard Fournette gets hurt. He's a pure handcuff. With that being said, that Leonard Fournette role is, if anything were to happen to Fournette, or if he were to he's already been a little bit banged up. And now even Gio Bernard is banged up. He got hurt on special teams, right? Didn't he get hurt? So if so, Rachaad White almost immediately becomes an immediate back-end RB1/RB2. It's one of the rare dudes like that. And all the guys who are like that are all definitely already rostered in your leagues. All the Alexander Madisons, all the the Jamal Williams. I guess we're talking about how he's probably still available on some waiver wires. Kind of the guys like Tony Pollard was before this last week. By the way, Trashman, Zeke, are you worried about Zeke? We talked about it last week.
I'm not worried about it in the sense I still think they're going to run the wheels off him. They can't afford not to use Zeke, especially because of the situation they're in, and because this might be his last season with the team. Worried about him or not, he's going to get the touches as long as he's healthy.
Trashman, we have a question in the chat. Look at this from a guy called Lifelong Longhorn. How about that? Oh, and our boy Minion Hunter is in the chat too. He's asking about Khalil Herbert. We can talk about that in a second. But lifelong Longhorn, just like Trashman and I, really. Trashman, do you consider yourself a lifelong Longhorn? Were you a Longhorn fan even when you were a little kid, or was it just once you graduated from school?
No, I was.
Yeah,
I was. I remember my mom got me an A&M sweatshirt for Christmas once, and I had to ask her what she was thinking.
Just throw it in the fireplace. Okay, so
he needs the other wrapping paper.
Lifelong Longhorn says he needs to pick up a tight end. So Thomas, Higbee, Ingram, Gesicki, Irv Smith are all available. I'm highest on Higbee with the amount of targets so far. I mean, dude, here's the thing. Yeah,
it's Higbee based on.
Yeah, it's Higbee. Irv Smith, I mean, had a good game last week, but he got you a big zero burger in week 1. Gesicki, look, Minion Hunter is saying he looks great. He had the great catch on Sunday. I know Minion Hunter was watching that game really closely. Our boy Minion Hunter is a big Baltimore guy. Boy, what a game, Trashman. What a game.
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
Gesicki is not. I mean,
blocking tight end in this offense.
Yeah, man. Like that's what Mike McDaniel wants these guys to be like George Kittle and block their ass off, and Gesicki just can't do it. I mean, what is it? Durham Smythe who's running ahead of him right now? Is that who? Yeah, I don't have this. Let me pull the snap counts tool, and I'll look at that real quick because I haven't looked at it this last week to see how much it. So look, I mean, Gesicki played more this week. He played 62% of snaps to Durham Smythe's 49% of snaps. Last week it was Gesicki on 42% of snaps and Durham Smythe on 63%. So things flipped. But also think about the kind of games those were. The first game was versus New England. The second game was in an absolute spread these dudes out, go to complete shootout mode for the second half. I can't really. I'm not sure that I can buy into that kind of game script for this team for the rest of it as much as they would have liked it. Okay, so those are the answers there, Trashman. Let's go on to wide receivers. Where I mean, you were super high on the original cheat sheet on Rondale Moore. I couldn't figure out for the life of me how this thing's just not headlined by Garrett Wilson after what he was able to do, this week. I mean, just the Garrett Wilson. What was it? 14 targets. It was Garrett Wilson. Let's see.
I mean, Garrett Wilson. I mean, like I had him pretty high still.
He needs to be that Garrett Wilson is the crown jewel of
Corey Davis had a really good game too.
It's the crown jewel of this week's waiver wire. It's Garrett Wilson.
Corey Dave. Well, I just don't know what it's going to look like going forward. I don't know if that's going to
be. That's a fair thing to say, but I mean seriously, Corey Davis had fucking 4 targets and 2 receptions. I know he did get the 83 yards and a touchdown. That's a far cry from 14 targets.
I mean, but if you look at his first week too, I mean, like he was in the waivers last week too, based off his week 1 performance. I mean, and you have to think Elijah Moore is going to get more involved at some point. I mean, I feel like
Garrett Wilson is averaging 11 targets a week over the first 2. Here's. I mean, I have the issue with Elijah Moore too. We're talking about a free player on waivers, who was our number 2 wide receiver in this class, consensus, who is getting 11 targets a week, who's going ham. I mean, how many points did this dude score in PPR this week? Garrett Wilson went for 2 touchdowns. He had 19 to 4. I mean, he had over 30 points in PPR. He's free. Of course, he's the best pickup on the waiver wire. It's like, I mean, I understand their concerns. Elijah Moore is awesome, right? We loved him coming out. And here's the other thing. I don't trust Zach Wilson for a hill of damn beans, dude.
Yeah. I
really don't. I think, but the thing is, it isn't like they don't care at all what we think about in fantasy land, that Joe Flacco is probably better for these guys than Zach Wilson is. Like, who cares? What they're like? What? They're like, that's the most cocky thing I've ever heard.
Wilson also, I mean, he played 61% of snaps compared to 86 for Moore and 77 for Davis.
He got hurt. I mean, he got hurt. He had the back spasms. He had to go to the sideline and get some stuff taken care of. And they also don't play him on. They also don't play him on run snaps. They think he's a shitty blocker. He got hurt. Dude, I'm telling you, there are no holes to poke in going out and getting Garrett Wilson for free off of waivers right now.
No, I'm not arguing that he's not a high priority.
Yeah, but have I at least talked you into the fact that he's the highest priority? What?
Yeah, him or Jamal Williams.
Okay, why did you like Rondale Moore so much?
I mean, well, just look at what Greg Dortch is doing in the slot there.
I know, but my question is, like, what about Greg? I mean, what if they're just like Rondale Moore hadn't really shown us a damn thing? Greg Dortch kind of has. Why not just keep playing Greg Dortch?
I don't. I mean, what round pick was Rondale Moore? I mean, I feel like
he was either I don't know. I think he was a 3rd round pick. We interviewed him right after the thing. But what if we interviewed him right after? Was he a day 3? No, he was a second. Rondale had to be a 2nd round pick.
I mean, they're not going to sit Rondale Moore as a 2nd round pick for Greg Dortch if he's healthy.
Well, I mean, let me just look it up. I think it was 2nd round pick. Let me just see. Rondale Moore. Here, keep on talking about some of these other guys, trash man. We can't have all this dead air time.
Treylon Burks is starting to come up in Tennessee, led Tennessee in receiving for what it's worth last night. I mean, there really wasn't much going on in the Tennessee offense in general, but Treylon Burks through these first 2 weeks looks like the most consistent target getter in that Tennessee offense. And I think, he's only going to get better as the season goes on. So it makes sense to get him while you can.
49th overall, Rondale, by the way. Yeah. So I look, man, I think that, it's fine. When he comes back, it's going to be fine. But you got to remember that the Cardinals are going to get DeAndre Hopkins back in now, 4 more weeks. They're gonna get Andy Isabella back. They're gonna get Antoine Wesley back.
Well, Andy Isabella wasn't doing anything in the first place.
But it doesn't matter. It's all just. But that's the thing, trash man. Law of conservation of targets. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's to me, Rondale Moore. I'm more interested in maybe
you
Michael
loved
Gallup.
Rondale Moore last season going into last season.
I did, but dude, I mean, I'm an independent thinker with the Bayesian process, and as I get new information, I'll adjust. And they don't seem to like Rondale as much as maybe we thought that they did originally.
I mean, he was going to be their starting slot receiver, right?
Yeah, and we don't know if that's going to be the case moving forward. We truly don't. And that team kind of like, I don't know, man. That's dude. How weird of a team is that Cardinals team? That comeback that they had, it was just, I mean, how did that even happen? It felt like they were just mistaking their way to the very top. the whole game. It's like, how is this a comeback? What about Michael Gallup? I mean, no interest in Gallup. I thought he'd be right at the top of your list. I know it's Cooper Rush stuff right now, but he's on. I looked it up. I couldn't believe it. Michael Gallup's only rostered in Yahoo in like 38% of leagues.
Well, when is he slated to come back? Is there even a timetable?
Old Jerry Jones is saying it could be as soon as this week, boy. Hell, it could be hell. That could be back this week.
That might not be the best thing for them. I don't know.
But Gallup's got to be up there, right?
Gallup is truly. I hadn't heard that.
Gallup would be a guy Gallup would be a guy who maybe he should be up there with Garrett Wilson too.
I mean, Noah Brown definitely has some juice based off of this, last week in the second team doctrine.
Noah Brown's not going to do anything whenever he has to. That's exactly it, trash man. The one of the key roster watch doctrines, getting off to a fast start, right? That's always been a roster watch doctrine. Fair trades means everybody gets hurt a little bit, right? That's a roster watch doctrine. The other roster watch doctrine is when you got a backup quarterback, look at any sort of fringy wide receivers that might have been working with that backup quarterback during camp. Cooper Rush to Noah Brown. So I don't think that's going to continue. The second team doctrine, especially once Gallup is back.
Jalen Tolbert is completely out of the mix. It seems.
Dude, Jalen Tolbert's like a healthy scratch.
Even if Gallup comes back, they still need a third receiver.
I'd tweet. Look at Welker. Look at Minion saying that Brady's getting Cole Beasley and he could take the Welker role. Hey, dude. I mean, he probably hates Scotty Miller after all those crazy.
Beasley's on the waiver wire cheat sheet. I mean, Scotty Miller, he had 8 targets this past week.
Lifelong Longhorns asking about Sterling Shepard, who you were talking about on the SiriusXM show, Trash Man. I kind of waved it because I figured that we were getting word around then that Kadarius Toney might be back that week. Can you believe Kenny Golladay? I didn't look at the snap counts for him, but dude, if you've watched any of that game, he is like absent. He is a ghost. Kenny Golladay played 3% of snaps, Trash Man. A healthy Kenny Golladay. That's more depressing than Jalen Tolbert healthy scratch.
It is depressing, especially, considering that his last, really good, his last season in Detroit, he led the league in touchdowns.
He's just,
Sterling Shepard, I tell you, whenever he's on the field, whenever he's playing and he's healthy, he leads the Giants in receiving. That's just the fact of the matter. You have to take him seriously, especially in PPR formats.
Any of these deeper guys that you want to talk about at all? I saw some talk on Twitter earlier about people being interested in Robbie Anderson, but I looked at Robbie Anderson in one of our Yahoo leagues, and he's owned in 60% of leagues. So I guess that's why he didn't make it on there. I'm not.
Well, he didn't do anything this week.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not jumping over my shoes to go do any. God damn it, I hate Baker Mayfield for Christian McCaffrey. I hate it, man. He does not dump it off to him.
Yeah.
At all.
I will say, Jacoby Myers had a good game, as did Nelson Aguilar. Those are guys you can take a look at in deeper leagues. Well, especially Jacoby Myers. I think he needs to be owned.
Yeah. He should have been drafted for sure. All right. What about tight ends? You can kind of talk over those. If you guys have questions in the chat about, I have to. Trashman's got a hard out here in about 5 to 10 minutes, and I have to go pick up my kids and take them to jiu-jitsu, so I'll have to be out of here too. So if you guys have questions here as we wrap up, reminder, you can find all this stuff within the waiver wire cheat sheet at rosterwatch.com. And if you have questions about players you can drop to maybe pick up some of these guys, put them in the chat, and we'll answer those. I'll look through for some suggestions, maybe from a couple of our leagues, some of the teams in our leagues and some of the decisions people might be having to make. So Trashman, why not you go over quickly go over tight ends? Of course, our guy Tyler Conklin's got to be right at the very top. I can't believe that Gerald Everett is still
he's still not owned in the majority of leagues, and he needs to be. Tyler Conklin's getting there for me. I think he's a weekly streamer.
I think
he's getting at least 7 targets. He's gotten at least 7 targets both of these weeks. Evan Ingram had a good game for Jacksonville. Looks like he's getting more involved in that offense. That offense looks better than I thought it would this early in the season too. Logan Thomas is always in the mix in Washington when he's healthy. It's hard for me to think that Thomas can stay afloat with Samuel and Dotson and McLaurin all getting enough targets, but he's been in the mix these first 2 games. And I think in plus matchups, and with Washington being in these games where they're having to score a lot of points, he could stay involved. Those are the tight ends that I'm most interested in week 3.
Yeah, how long was Chris Olave? Just out of curiosity, with those 340 air yards. With those 340 air yards? How long was he?
How owned?
Yeah, how owned? I think he's
60. Let me look here. Yeah, he's 62% owned.
Okay. Golly, if Olave's available in your league, go get that guy. They were saying since they've started tracking air yards, it's like the 5th most air yards anybody's ever had in a game. It's just really, really, really crazy.
Asking if MVS is worth dropping for Shepard or Aguilar. I'd drop him for Shepard.
MVS. I think
Yeah.
I would hold on. I think I'd hold on, not for Aguilar. I'd hold on to
No.
MVS, man, until things shake out just a little bit more with this, a little bit more with exactly what I don't feel like we really know what we're going to get out of the KC offense. And here's the thing with it. You know, Patrick Mahomes said before the season, some people are going to be a little bit frustrated from time to time. You know?
I feel like with Shepard, though, I mean, his floor is built in that offense. I feel like if you're not wanting to deal with the headache of, you know, is this guy going to get me a 0 burger or, you know, a 15-pointer? I feel like Shepard's it's an easier flex for me than like an MVS on a given week.
Okay, fair enough. All right, here we go. We have I have some names here to pull up that I've kind of thought up here. But if we get any others, MVS, we just kind of answered that one in the chat. Go over quarterbacks and everything else, and then we'll get to some of these questions.
I've just been so surprised, especially from like Carson Wentz and Jared Goff so far this season. Both, you know, getting their offenses, you know, spreading the ball around a lot and moving the ball and getting and scoring touchdowns. I think Jared Goff had a 30-pointer this week. So I feel like in plus matchups, Goff and Wentz are guys that you can stream in really any format. Marcus Mariota, also a guy who, you know, has been consistent these first 2 games.
Yeah, and I was looking at the matchup too. I think he's got a good matchup next week. Let's see. Mariota, I mean, it's at Seattle. You know, it feels like that's probably pretty good, right?
Yeah.
It's probably pretty good. He's from he's from the Pacific Northwest. A little bit of or maybe not from there, but he played college football there. I think he might be from. Is he Pacific Islander or Hawaiian or something? Mariota. Do you remember Goodell called his name all wrong? Marcus Mariotti.
I think based off of that, I don't think anyone has ever really known what to call him. Minion's asking, does he pick up Nico Collins? I mean, I like Corey Davis. I like Sterling Shepard. Guys
out of those guys, those are the 2 that you want to go after, either Corey Davis or Sterling Shepard. With Sterling Shepard, I just have a little bit of a sneaky feeling that through the course of the season, as Brian Daboll begins to trust Kadarius Toney a little bit more, we're going to see him integrated in a lot more. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, he's kind of a hard guy to trust. Okay, all right, Trash Man. Here we go. The guys, can you drop them? Okay, here's the game. Can they be dropped? Sky Moore.
Outside of Dynasty, yeah.
What about in keeper leagues?
Yes. I mean, you're gonna have other options. You're gonna.
What about Tyrion Davis-Price now with the injury? I mean, we're going to have Jordan Mason and Marlon Mack here trying to fight this thing out behind Jeff Wilson for the next 3 to 4 weeks. Yeah,
you can drop him if there's somebody else you want to add from the waivers for sure.
This is one that we got asked on our website. Of course, we answer all the questions on the ticker over at rosterwatch.com. I mean, you can't drop Chase Edmonds yet, right?
No.
Okay. Albert O with a big fat 0 burger for you this last
I feel like you can drop virtually any tight end outside of the top 5, you know?
That includes Cole Kmet.
Yeah.
Mr. 0 burger himself. Okay. What about Isaiah Pacheco?
Yeah. Outside of dynasty leagues, yeah.
Omar F is asking, his running backs are Fournette and Derrick Henry. Would you trade CeeDee Lamb for Derek Montgomery? My RB3s are Penny and Etienne, who are not panning out.
David Montgomery?
I'm not trading CeeDee Lamb for David Montgomery. I hate attaching myself to the Bears right now. Would you do that? And look, man, don't worry about Fournette and Fournette and Henry had worst case scenarios these last. I mean, I know Henry got the touchdown last week, but I mean, we could have forecasted this whole New Orleans is going to be tough to run on. I hate it for Christian McCaffrey this week that he's got to play New Orleans. It was going to be tough for Fournette anyway. That whole game script was so messed up. Fournette is a guy who dude. Here's the thing: I am looking to go buy Fournette right now.
You could make this trade, but it's not in place to put Montgomery in place of Fournette or Henry. It's like if you were to if that's your flex, I could understand if you're needing to win now, if you're 0-2.
No, don't trade away CD yet. Don't trade low on CD Lamb.
I mean, I don't think that's trading low. I think David Montgomery is the only piece of the Chicago offense that works.
That thing is just so miserable. Speaking of the Chicago offense, we're getting asked on Twitter, can I drop Darnold Mooney?
I wouldn't. Yeah.
I wouldn't either. I'd hold on to him and I'd bench him. And just like I saw somebody say on Twitter at the time we tweeted about it, somebody replied back and said, you're going to bench him this week. He's going to go up. He's going to get 4 for 125 and a touchdown. And you're going to get him back in week 4. He's going to go to, 1 for 18. DJ Chark, Mr. Zero Burger himself from this last game.
Yeah, that was frustrating after he had a really good first week.
I think you can drop him.
You can drop him. I don't think people are going to be rushing to the waivers to pick him up.
Omar Evans saying his other wide receivers are Mike Williams and Waddle for context. That's a good number 1 and number 2. Look, man, it feels like you really want David Montgomery. I would not do that right now. I feel like you're trading. I think you're selling low on CD Lamb. But I'm like Trashman says, if you are super worried, I'm not worried about. I'm not worried moving forward about Leonard Fournette or Derrick Henry. I think you have 2 absolute beasts on your hands that people are trying to get you all worried over right now. Those are 2 guys that I'm this week I'm going out and trying to trade for. So I think you're a little bit too worried, man. I would keep my balance. What about George Pickens?
Yeah, I mean, as long as Trubisky is quarterback, I'm not.
What about
really buying?
What about Ashton Doolin's backup, Paris Campbell?
I mean, that whole Colts offense
is shit.
Dysfunctional right now. I think you could drop anybody except for Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman.
Boy, did I call it on the serious show saying, man, I think the Jaguars might come out here and beat these Colts. Lifelong Longhorn says he has Shark and MVS. Which one gets chopped? DJ Chark gets chopped. Zamir White, can he be dropped?
Outside of Dynasty, yeah.
Rex Burkhead, can he be dropped?
Yeah, he can be dropped.
And finally, from our good friend Minion Hunter. Man, times are tough. Can you drop DK Metcalf?
Absolutely not.